Anime, for some people, is just a word meaning animated shows or animation. But for us weebs otakus, it's not just a simple word, it's an emotion. I've been watching animes for quite some time now, so I know how much an anime can affect your real life. How much it can change you, your thoughts, your perspective towards this world. From its story to its characters, even the openings and endings, everything can move you. Some animes are just fun to watch, some are even worthless, but many animes often teach us many amazing things that change our point of view of the things around us, to the point that we stop taking them for granted. So guys, I'm Sofu and you're watching my channel, Sofu the Weeb. Let's talk about what has anime taught us. First of all, friendship. Anime teaches us the meaning and power of friendship. Friendship which inspires us, a side character who always supports the main character no matter what. They are willing to sacrifice their life for each other. Nobody is willing to give up as long as friends are around because they give each other courage, the strength to fight. They are ready to fight with all their might to save their friends, not only in extreme fights but also in times of need of friendship. A character when goes through tough and distressing situations when accompanied by a friend becomes stable. Watching it, anyone would be inspired. Doing anything and everything possible for each other, sacrificing, suffering to protect friends. It's true friendship which we see in almost every anime these days. How an introvert is introduced to the outer world and make friends, which is inspiring for many of us real introverts. Anime even teaches us how to befriend enemies. Even enemies become friends. Such is the power of friendship. The development of friendship and caring for one another as the story progresses is touching. When there is power of friendship, everything can be achieved. Value of life. We only get one life and so the anime characters, isn't it? Never mind. So we see in many slice of life animes how hard the characters have to work in order to live. Going to school, doing part-time jobs, all the hard work because they want to live, survive in this world. Many of us take our lives for granted when we watch how hard the characters try on a daily basis in order to earn a living. We realize the value of life, how hard it is to be on your own. There are even animes where characters come back after dying or have multiple lives, but it's not like they misuse the power, even they know that it's risky and involves pain. Typically, when a main character loses hope, has nothing to do with his life except overthinking and blaming himself for all the failures, his friends or any other person comes and explains the value of life, that it's not worth wasting like this, should live a fuller existence, should do what one wants to. You have got one life, make it worth. Watching things like this make us feel the need to value our life more. Family. Family is a very important and essential part of our lives. The same goes for anime characters. In many animes, the characters are willing to do anything and everything for their families because they love them and don't want to lose them. Scenes where family goes out to restaurants, for picnic, having a good time all displays the emotions and feelings of love and affection. The caring towards each other and sacrifices that are made for the sake of the family is heart-touching. In real life, often people are ignorant towards their families and won't share things with them. Animes show us how characters crave for the love of family. We see how it's like to not have a family. The feelings of sorrow and compassion shown have a strong emotional effect on us. We learn to appreciate our family more and spend time with them more. Never give up on your dreams. Animes like Inazuma 11, Your Lie in April, Attack on Titan show us the passion the characters have to achieve what they want. It shows us that it's never too late to stop dreaming and achieve anything. They fight, they fall, they rise up. Anime teaches us never to give up on our dreams, no matter how big it may be. If we love it with all of our heart and ready to do everything it takes, we can make those dreams come true. The characters remain so persistent towards their dreams, they do every possible thing to do what they want to because they love it. Watching them trying so hard, may it be training, studying, working, or practicing unconditionally, it inspires us and motivates us. Sometimes supporting characters plays a vital role too. When the main character stops dreaming, loses hope, they support them and make them dream again. They go to any extent to help the main character achieve their dream. Anime teaches us no matter how far success may seem, no matter how many obstacles come in between, no matter how hard it may be, no matter how many times you fall, if you truly want to make your dreams come true and love it with all your heart, you'll achieve them one day. How to be a good human being. Anime characters inspire us very much. We see the helping nature, humbleness, generosity, protectiveness, and many other qualities of characters which really amaze us. The purity of the emotions that the characters show, when we see it we wonder how could they be so pure. That's what inspires us to become better human beings, and we try to be better. We have goals. We all have some kind of goals, and sometimes we are distracted from our goals. We see animes where characters do unjust acts thinking that they are just. They don't even realize what they are doing is wrong and unjust. They think that they are doing the right thing. The anime Death Note is a perfect example for it. When we see as a third person that people who think they do right actually are unjust, we realize that we might be like that too. Maybe we are also doing unjust acts thinking it is the right thing to do. We realize where we might be wrong and try to correct ourselves. That's what makes us learn from many different animes. So guys, these were some of the things that anime teaches us. Anime also teaches us things like justice, sacrifice, leadership, love, brotherhood and many more. But I don't want to make this video any longer, so I have covered only some of the things that anime teaches us. I hope now you guys understand what anime teaches us and why do we love anime so much. So now, don't think anime is just some random stuff with no value. It has value beyond compare and now you guys know it too. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you like the video, do subscribe to my channel. See you again with my next video. Till then, sayonara.